The two good ladies, by coincidence, have come from the background of manufacturing, because, like I say, CEO, former CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, nominated by KAM actually to this board. I think the same thing with Rita Kavashe. You know, she runs one of the largest companies in this country, actually in East Africa, Isuzu East Africa. And you can see there's a brand of private sector coming to work with the public service to make sure we provide the best service. And this is what you take our country into the next level. So because they know what manufacturers need to invest in this country, by coming to the Rose Board, it will help us in terms of making sure we satisfy those manufacturers, investors who want to come to this country. And also, let me say this, it's not just investors in the manufacturing sector. We want, and we said it before, Kenya and Nairobi to be the hub in terms of not just manufacturing, but also in terms of diplomacy. Only yesterday, myself and CS Rachel Mamu, we went to launch what we are calling the UN Enclave in Gigiri, where we would like to become, top in this continent in terms of serving diplomats and diplomatic missions. And one of the things we demonstrated when we went there, which I actually explained to the diplomats, is that now Nairobi has changed in terms of traffic flow because of investments done in the road sector. And I told them that, look, from Gigili, UNEP, UN headquarters, now we have like 3 options to reach Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. I told them from UNEP, you can drive to Red Hill, you go to James Gishoro Link Road, which is Duod. James Gishoro, all the way to the airport is 10 minutes, using the expressway. So from the airport all the way to UNEP, it's actually exactly now 22 minutes. People used to take about 2 hours. Then I told them government has already signed off new contracts to do what we are calling the UN Avenue. UN Avenue, which will start from the turnoff to the UN, all the way to Northern Bypass in Runda. So that diplomats, if they want to use that route, they can go to Northern Bypass, all the way to Roiro, and then we have duoed the Eastern Bypass all the way to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And then we are also dualing, and the contractor already contracted, to dual the road from Professor Wangari Maathai Road, which is off Park Rides near the Thika Superhighway, all the way to Gigiri is being dualed as well. So that's another exit route. So Nairobi will become extremely attractive, not just for investors in manufacturing, but also as a diplomatic hub for this continent. So we are very happy that the Kenya Roads Board and Kenya road sector is playing the role it's supposed to play. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. One question to agencies like KRB to put investments into road infrastructure, retrofitting like the ones we are doing in Line 2, BRT, and Line 1 for Mombasa Road. How can we tap them to make sure that this comes to fruition?
You see, like I said, Kenya Roads Board, in fact, you can call it Kenya Roads Board Infrastructure Fund. And being a fund, there are many ways they can use those funds to be able to support these other agencies. For example, we discussed about how, and the DG has been working very hard on this together with our ministry, how we can issue a bond which will be able to finance some of these roads interventions. And I'm happy to say, because this I said earlier, that even the incoming president, we already discussed about how this matter would be addressed even further, to see that the new incoming government will carry on where the outgoing government has reached so far. So in terms of all those investments, Kenya Roads Board will play a very key role, because, like I said, it's like a fund, it's like a bank supporting, or rather dedicated bank to support the road sector. Yeah,
BRT update?
BRT, as you know, it's an expensive affair which we are working on. There's about 3 lines which we are already in process of implementing. Roiro all the way to Nairobi, the BRT stations. It's gone slow, but now it's going to be fast-tracked. There's also the BRT from Jomo Kenyatta Airport along the old road, what you call the A8, all the way to the city. There's also another line coming all the way from Eastlands through Juja Road, coming all the way to CBD. So the BRT systems will be the next level of investment, because you cannot have road infrastructure but without the BRT systems. That is something which you're going to put emphasis on.
Was it a good one for me? Over the last years, we've unveiled and toured a lot of roads with you. Maybe just give us...
No, I'll be very brief, because this was not my function, actually. This was actually the new chairperson's function. But I know these are matters which Kenyans would like to know. The last, I would say, 7 years or so, we have put a lot of effort in cascading the roads development across the entire country. And that's why we have been using the 3 agencies, the KENHA, KERA, and KURA, to make sure that we have a dedicated approach in the way we develop our roads. KENHA in terms of intercity trunk roads, which, as you know, like say from Mombasa all the way to Malaba, we are doing a lot of roads at KENHA. Then in terms of KERA, a lot of roads which are being done in all the counties. And that's why, if you remember, at the KERA, we did develop what we called actually our roads encyclopedia, where we wanted to make sure that no county is left behind. And we developed this encyclopedia alphabetically, starting from Baringo to West Pokot, to make sure that no county was left behind. And today, if you go to KERA, they will show you all the roads they've done in those counties. Then, in terms of the cities, intercity, intracity, you've seen what happened, for example, this Upper Hill place we are in today. If you came here 10 years ago, you're not be able to move around. But now we've done new roads in Upper Hill, we've done new roads, linking one side of the other to the other. I was just being shown 2 days ago that now you can drive from Gong Road to Rangata Road. We have linked that area, which was a big, big problem. In total, we have now built 11,500 kilometers, Faisal. 11,500, against the promise of 10,000 when we came to office some 10 years ago. So we have actually basically exceeded the target. But the crucial thing is to make sure these roads are actually cascaded in all parts of our country. Like the new chairperson said, there's still a lot to be done in terms of make sure we have equity across the entire country. Make sure that no area is left behind. And that's why we are happy today that we have an agent like Kenya Roads Board with good management and the board, which is carrying on that agenda.
Okay, just to finish off, what systems have you and the government put in place to ensure that whatever good work you've done in terms of building the road, some of them are not finished, the next administration will be able to carry over the work that was done?
Number one is the institutions have to be strong. That's why one of the key institutions is like this Kenya Roads Board. You have to make sure that you have institutional strength to carry on the policies, because those policies were not personal to anybody. They were actually for the national interest. So whether it is outgoing or incoming government, they will make sure that happens. The biggest challenge, and I think I just mentioned, is the issue of works going through because of pending bills. And like I say, this is a discussion which we have briefed the incoming president to make sure that where we had reached in terms of structuring an instrument, us and Kenya Roads Board, we will make sure that that is completed as soon as possible. If that happens, then you're going to find that all the work which has not been done will be completed in the next 6 to 12 months. We are a developing country, so we cannot say that Madam Phyllis will not have anything to, because you see, we are a developing country. There are a lot of things which have not been done yet, which are currently developing. But in terms of the way we have worked, this board has been a very, very harmonious board. I don't work far away from here, but very few times I've been required to come here. And when I come here, it's for good reasons, because either the DG and they are launching something, but I've never been called here to sort out wrangles. That is critical in terms of performance of any board. And I think that's why we have to give, hongera to Madam Kavashe for managing and creating a very good working environment between the board, the management. That leadership has been critical. So we are here for good reasons. That's why we are all very happy. Otherwise, even there is no changeover of boards, because somebody is either fired or something happens, taken to court. We don't have such a thing in Kenya Rose Board. Our prayer is that it will continue under the good leadership of Phyllis, and we shall keep supporting the DG and his team. So come back to what you asked, is because of that leadership aspect, that even through COVID, things continued working. During COVID, the collection of fuel levy went down because number of vehicles went down, but they still kept the momentum, in terms of development agenda which they had. And so we believe that we shall continue with the same trajectory, and with the incoming government, we will certainly find a very strong institution in Kenya Rose Board. Asante.
Thank you.